Chris, what's coming up this week?
Well, Richard, we have got a random episode of a random Gerry Anderson series, randomly.
Jamie?
We have a Gerry Anderson special feature about his early life.
And we'll be hearing from you, our wonderful Podsterons. Stay tuned. What?
The Gerry Anderson Podcast with Jamie Anderson, Richard James and Chris Dale.
It's Pod 360.
360, wow.
There's quite a nice circular theme
360 degrees of the podcast.
Yes.
And bringing us sort of
Full circle
to a few months ago.
Oh, yes.
We have Ross joining us again.
Hello again.
So you're not Jamie. Sorry, that's my mistake in the intro.
No, just his replacement.
Right.
So I'm really sorry, everyone.
And Ross has joined us all the way from that sofa over there where he normally sleeps during the podcast.
Yeah, so who's actually taking care of the cameras and the sound then, if you're here?
Well, I believe it's...
Oh, look,
believe
it's
it's
Charlotte.
Charlotte.
That's nice, isn't it? Anyway, so coming up for Pod 360, we'll have our wonderful Podsterons emailing us in. We've got a random episode of a random Gerry Anderson series. Tell us a little bit more about your special featurette, Ross.
Well, there was a documentary produced in the 90s in which lots of the team of AP Films in Century 21 were interviewed. It was we refer to them as the John Huff tapes.
Ah, yes. This is Mr. Thunderbird, isn't it?
Yes,
from
that's right.
Channel 5.
We recently got our hands on a lot of the tapes, so we've been re-editing them and reformatting them into various little bits and pieces for YouTube.
Great. Right, look forward to seeing that a little later on.
Yes.
Now, talking of YouTube, we premiere every Sunday night.
Which is where we are.
Yes,
We're
right
there.
now.
Right now.
We premiere every Sunday night at 7 o'clock.
Yes.
People like to comment beneath the videos, don't
They
they, Chris?
do. I've
Would you
noticed.
like to
Yes.
read out the first
I think
comment
I
there?
would, yes.
Yeah.
This first comment is from Heavy Metal Spike.
Right.
Hello, Heavy Metal Spike. I always appreciate your videos, thank you very much. But I've been a little reticent in commenting. So, for what it's worth, thanks to everyone for keeping the legacy alive. That's everyone.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thanks. Heavy Metal
You
Spike.
always make me smile, and your remarks and observations during the randomizer are the best commentaries anywhere.
I mean, who's he talking to here? You, me, Jamie,
well,
Ross?
I suspect it's probably Jamie, isn't it?
Probably.
That's
Jamie
me,
brings
obviously.
the-
As such a full-timer to this
Yeah,
podcast.
so knowledgeable and fun.
Oh, it's not me then.
Or funny, even.
Oh,
so that is
definitely not me.
yes. I love Space Precinct. Here we go. This is where it is about you. And have just ordered the new Fight the Future book.
Right.
And I have the other two already. Question, was the 4-episode audio book ever published as a paperback? I prefer the tangible.
Oh, fair enough. Heavy Metal Spike? Answer, no.
No.
This is Space Precinct Revisited, I think.
Yes.
For audio adventures available via Big Finish. Mm-hmm. And also, I think, on the Gerry Anderson store, potentially. I don't know. Audio only, those. They were never produced as a book.
Oh, dear.
But get your hands on them for brand new adventures for the offices of Precinct 88.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
which I
Fight the
read.
Future as well.
Yeah, that's right.
Which you also read.
Yes. Paul Kinnear says, it's a bit of a shock to realise that I first saw Space Precinct 30 years ago.
I first saw Space Precinct 30 years ago. I
Yeah.
don't know what it is,
Yeah.
but I suspect most people did.
Yes, he said the memories are so vivid. I enjoyed the show at the time, but viewing it now, I love it a lot more.
Hey,
Hooray!
that's what we like.
The Blu-ray set is a thing of beauty, with the episodes looking amazing and the extras being well worth the price of admission, especially Little Lost Robot.
Oh, yeah.
That was really good.
Lovely. yes.
Amazing. I watched it, in fact, last night again. I really enjoyed it. Seeing the Precinct 88 station house again in new footage brought the slightest of tears to my eyes.
Yeah,
I understand that.
it's quite a moment.
Yeah.
The whole thing is full of quite a moment type moments.
Yes,
yeah.
now here's something I need to talk to Jamie about, because I would love to see a damaged slow-mo variant toy.
Oh, yes.
Wouldn't that be great?
That would be
Yeah,
cool.
Like
why
we see
aren't we
in the,
doing new Space Precinct action figures? Yes. Where's the Romek to sit with Orin?
I know.
Yeah.
Yes, that never happened, did it?
No.
Shame. Yeah. And one for you there, Ross. Read out.
This one's from Button Moon.
Oh, yes.
This is City of Fire is one of my favourite Thunderbirds episodes that I grew up with. After the fire starts, it has the atmosphere that something bad is coming.
Yeah.
And then the things start to go from bad to worse.
Yeah.
Seeing Scott and Virgil working together is a treat to see. The special effects scenes for the Firefly are so fantastic.
Yes.
I can almost feel the extreme heat coming from the vehicle after it comes out of the fire.
Nice.
And lastly, I just want to say this. I never saw the female driver as stereotypical at all. It might sound strange, but I always thought she was just a really bad driver generally.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Well,
maybe so.
yeah. But then the episode does have that bit where Tintin says, "Oh yes, you guessed it. The driver was female." Yes.
Yes, would never happen now, would
No.
it? Ross, I think it's about that time we had a look at your little featurette concerning the early days of Gerry Anderson. Tell us a little bit more about that before we see it.
Yes, this was really good fun to put together. So it's kind of Gerry himself, in his own words, telling the story of his time working on Twizzle and Torchy, all the way through to Supercar, until Lou Grade bought them out, basically.
Okay.
And it even features a little bit of David Graham
Nice.
and a couple of others of the Anderson alumni.
Great.
So yeah,
Lovely.
nice little piece, I think.
Let's have a look.
Having formed AP Films together, Gerry Anderson and Arthur Provis found that not much work was coming in aside from the odd commercial. Just when it looked like they would have to wrap up the company, an unlikely lady showed up, which would prove to be a lifeline for the company.
Yes, it was 1956. And I went into business with Arthur Provis, hence AP Films, Anderson Provis. He always insisted that AP meant Arthur Provis, and I always insisted that AP meant Anderson Productions. But we got on very, very well, and we took with us some friends that we had met. Reg Hill, brilliant guy, and John Reed. And then we had a ludicrous situation where we were going out to work as technicians in order to earn enough money to pay the office rent. But finally, and just as we were about to close the company, a woman by the name of Roberta Lee turned up on the doorstep and said, I've got 52 15-minute scripts here for a children's series to be called The Adventures of Twizzle. Would you do them? Well, of course, the answer had to be yes.
One day Roberta Lee turned up, I honestly don't know from where, saying she'd heard we'd made this thing and she wanted this puppet thing made. She was a rich lady and a bit out of our league, really. But she was a great taskmaster, used to try and force us to do everything as cheaply as possible. And Roberta Lee really knew nothing about films whatsoever. And we knew nothing about her, but we took the job on at a very, very reduced rate. It was unbelievably cheap. I don't know how we did it, quite honestly. I don't think we paid ourselves anything, hardly. Just enough to eat on, you know.
It was then that she said, and they're to be made with puppets. Well, my heart sank. No, it wasn't going to be a major feature film. It was going to be a kids' series with puppets. But nevertheless, it paid the rent. And that's really what started me on the route to make the puppet films that I'm now known for.
Roberta was quite difficult to deal with, mainly because she learned very quickly. Because when you write for a puppet show, you can't say, I walked in and I picked up this plate, because you can't do that. You have to cut away all the time and you have to write with a certain technique. And she got a lot better, but to begin with, it was absolutely agony re-editing and rewriting everything. Because puppets can't do a thing, they can't walk, they can't do anything. And so it has to be all by association, really, or cutaways, or voice-over.
The character was a little guy who could twistle his arms. In other words, he could extend his arms and legs. And so that if he wanted to take a box of chocolates from a very high shelf, he would twizzle his legs and grow taller, and then his arms would grow and he would be able to get the box of chocolates. You know, really deep drama this was, but it was for little kids, and the show was really quite successful. I think the important thing about that show was I had never seen a puppet in my life. When our first puppeteer, Christine Glanville, came in and brought one of her puppets along, it was made of paper mache with a very rough finish. The eyes were painted on, the mouth didn't move. The only way that you would know the character was speaking was you'd have to jerk its head, you see. So when Twizzle was talking, he would do that. And then when the next character was talking, they would nod their head up and down. And I was quite disgusted with these things, and I thought, how the hell am I going to make decent movies like this? I said to Christine, how do you normally work these things when you operate on a film? And she said, oh, it's very simple. Get a sheet of hardboard, you see, 8 feet by 4 feet, put it in front of you, and on that you paint the scene, you know, a few trees and a hedge, and then you put props like a couple of flower pots maybe and a watering can, and then I stand behind this sheet of hardboard put my hands over the top and operate the puppet. And I thought, God, I mean, this is just awful. I mean, how am I going to ever face my friends in the film business?
Don't forget, during the 50s, puppet shows like Muffin the Mule and Flower Pot Men set the benchmark for much of children's television. But when Gerry and Arthur set out to make The Adventures of Twizzle, Gerry was determined to make the series the best he possibly could, and this led to some significant innovations.
The first thing I decided to do was to build a bridge over the set and put the puppeteers up on the bridge. This meant that we were able to lower the puppet into a three-dimensional set, a miniature movie set, in other words. Problems, yes. Puppeteers now looked down and they couldn't see the puppets' faces. And so when the character turned to the left to talk to that guy, the head would swing straight past, you know. And so we tried all sorts of things. Mirrors, well, the image went the wrong way for the puppeteer. You know, they would move the puppet this way and they would see the image move that way. The mirrors reflected the lights onto the set. When the camera tracked in, of course, the whole image was lost. So we tried putting arrows on top of the puppet's head to point out to the puppeteer overhead which way they were facing, and that worked reasonably well. And then one day somebody came in trying to flog me an industrial television camera. It just so happens that that man was Joe Dunton, who's very famous in the business now and is an expert on all things to do with cameras. But it occurred to me that we could use that TV camera, and we bought one, and we mounted it behind the cine camera so that the TV camera was looking through the viewfinder and produced a picture of what the camera was filming. The quality was utterly appalling, but nevertheless they could just about see what was going on. We reversed the TV picture so that when the puppeteers turned their character to their right, then on the screen the image also turned the same way.
It was during this production that one key player, crucial to Gerry Anderson's future success, would arrive: the musical composer Barry Gray.
Well, I was introduced to Gerry by, shall we call, a third party. I had done some arrangements and compositions for Decca record company, which she was associated with, and she also wanted to produce a small twee children's puppet series which she'd written, and as Gerry Anderson just had his AP Films company at this time, she went to him for him to make the series. She'd try and get it off the ground. Well, I think she had more or less got it off the ground with Associated Rediffusion as it was then. And when it came to music, she said she would like me to do the music. It was actually, in this particular instance, it was the musical direction and arranging. A solicitor friend of hers, who was an amateur musician, had written sort of little themes for these were children's sort of things. So it was really virtually putting these into shape and doing the musical direction and the arranging. And this is how I met Gerry. I did the first session with Gerry, for Gerry, shall we say. That was The Adventures of Twizzle. I got the tunes just hummed, I don't think whistled, but hummed on a tape recorder, which were accredited as being compositions of this friend of this lady's, but I had to put them in shape and arrange them for the orchestra and conduct the sessions on both those two series. That was The Adventures of Twizzle and Torture the Battery Boy.
The fact that we were filming with these awful creatures made me quite desperate to make the puppet film reasonable. And from there on, of course, I just introduced innovation after innovation. As a potential movie maker, I couldn't get excited over Muffin the Mule or the Flower Pot Men. But Twizzle was a little bit more advanced.
Torchy, Torchy. Torchy, Torchy, the battery boy. I'm a walkie-talkie toy.
After the success of Twizzle, AP Films were commissioned by Roberta Lee to create her next puppet series. It was during this that the first special effects shot of a rocket launch lit the fuse towards the explosions we would see in later series and come to associate with a Gerry Anderson production.
Roberta Lee, who financed Twizzle, asked me to make a new series she'd invented called Torchy the Battery Boy. He had a headlamp or a lamp in his head, and he lived in a wonderful place where they had lollipop trees and sherbet bushes, and he lived in a pineapple house, and there was a charming old man, Mr. Bumbledrop, who took a shine to Torchy, and one of the lines I remember was the old man sitting with Torchy on his lap said, "Do you know, Torchy, I've always wanted a toy boy." Well, recently I gave a talk, and when I explained that, the audience absolutely collapsed. But of course, you see, it just shows you how innocent things were in that day and age, how they've changed.
Yeah, that was probably my favourite show, because the characters were defined. It was famous. It was my most famous series, but never became a cult thing like Space Patrol. But my real claim to fame is that Torchy was listed as a clue in the Times crossword puzzle.
If there was a little more money, we had now some experience, and so that show was an advance. It was almost becoming respectable. We did, I suppose, really what was our very first special effects shot. We had a title sequence to do where a rocket would take off outside Torchy's house. It had a thatched roof, so that was a pretty dangerous thing to do, but nevertheless, that's what the script said. So we built this rocket, and I remember John Reed and Reg Hill spent the whole day wiring up, I think it was 1,000 sparklers. And the idea was that when I said action, they would detonate and all the sparklers would go off, and they would hoist the rocket on a pulley out of shot up into the studio roof. Well, everything was ready, and we were all very tired, so we decided to go out to supper before we attempted this shot. We came back, I suppose, about 8 o'clock at night, and we were filming at high speed, which is we film at 120 pictures a second instead of the normal 24 pictures a second, so that when the picture's played back, everything is slowed down, and therefore the sparklers would look more ferocious, therefore the rocket would look heavier, and so on. Well, take one, the camera wound up to high speed, which is quite a dramatic sound, particularly if you're worried about the cost of the stock going through. And I said, action, and they touched the battery, and nothing happened. So there was a great deal of, examination and rewiring. And then we went again, action, nothing happened, and take after take, and now it was nearly midnight. And I knew that people were just, couldn't stand on their feet much longer. So I was standing by a pillar. We were filming in a little ballroom, and in the pillar there was a PowerPoint, just two outlets. And I said, look, give me those wires, and turn over. Camera came up to speed, and I took the two wires and I ran them into the mains. And there was a most enormous flash. And there was a lot of shouting and horroring and shrieking, and when the smoke cleared, the camera had stopped, and my vision was just beginning to return. And there, dangling in the roof, was the rocket. And yeah, it did work. But so
the second 26 of Torchy was made by somebody else. I wanted to make it. I said to Gerry, don't let's split up. I'll make that and you carry on with what you're doing. But he didn't like that idea. So she got somebody else to make it. I thought we could make money out of that while we were,
What happened was we finished Torchy. I didn't get along very well with Roberta Lee, and I didn't, in fairness, maybe she didn't like me either, but I decided that we should really do our own series now. We had a few bob in the bank, not much, but a little, and we decided to make a pilot.
It was around this time that Gerry and Arthur decided to part ways, as their visions for the future began to differ.
Gerry says it was because he wanted to buy the place we were in for some amazing amount of money, and I didn't agree with it. He's convinced that was the reason. But I don't think that was entirely the reason. I think that we disagreed on the risks that we were taking more. I was rather more careful than Gerry. Gerry would have a go, and I was tended to be careful, and it gradually made me more and more nervous. I thought we'd get ourselves into a lot of trouble, and I decided to go.
The 4 feathers on this hat are magic. They enable Tex Tucker's dog and horse to speak, and his guns to fire without him even touching them.
As Torchy the Battery Boy came to an end, Gerry Anderson decided it was time for AP Films to branch out on their own and attempt their own television series. And so they set to work on making the pilot of Four Feather Falls, a puppet western that was actually conceived largely by an unexpected member of the team.
Barry Gray wrote the story. Barry Gray was our composer. He wrote the story. And it was to be a puppet western. The reason was very simple at that time. Today, a lot of science fiction films are made in that day and age. Every other film was a western, so because I was trying to emulate cinema, we made this as a western. And it was actually eventually commissioned by Granada. We made 52 episodes. And they were great fun. We used a voice artist, Denise Breyer, who did some of the voices. We were then looking for a voice for the sheriff, and she said, "Oh, my husband can do that." And, this business of my husband can do that, and you think, oh, yeah. Anyway, it turned out that her husband was Nicholas Parsons. And surprise, surprise, he did it extremely well. I mean, I didn't think he would be able to do it. We also heard Kenneth Connor, who was, very well known from the Carry On series. We used to record the dialogue before the show was made, and we recorded it we were working in a mansion at that time, and we were shooting the little ballroom downstairs. We had a room upstairs, and we used to pin blankets to the walls to make it acoustically acceptable. And of course we had no separate room for the artists as one would do today. And so we shoved them in a clothes cupboard, and they sat in the cupboard and did their recording. It was all very hot and sticky, but it was pioneering, and they were very good about it.
I played 2 main characters. One was Gramps, your grandfather, which I based on a Western actor, marvellous Western actor in Hollywood. It was in every Western, called Walter Brennan. You talk like that, and those Indians are coming over the range before the U.S. cavalry arrive. Ornery critters and all that sort of stuff. And then one was a Mexican bandit, I think it was Pedro, and he had a sidekick, or the other way around, called Fernando, which was played by dear old Kenneth Connor, and we were always, doing naughties and then getting sorted out.
The first series I worked on with Gerry Anderson was called Four Feather Falls, one of my favourites of the whole group of episodes that we did together. It was all very friendly, polite, quiet, unemotional, unfussed. It was delightful to work on, and they were all delightful people, it seemed to be. As the series, of course, progressed, as one series led to another, the tensions became stronger and the ambitions became higher.
Two-gun Tex Tucker. He had magic guns, which used to swivel unaided and shoot down his opponents. It was just a bit of magic that I'm not sure whether Barry came up with that and wrote it, but anyway, it was quite good. And then, of course, we had a talking horse and a dog called Dacia, I think, if I remember correctly. So it was a fun series, and it really set us on our way to make puppet films, although we had problems after Four Feather Falls in getting our shows funded.
The premise of that series was just to show life in a little western town with rather enchanting characters, beautifully moulded by the puppeteers, and there were archetypal villains and comic villains and so on. It was just a homely little show with nice music and nice characters.
The show got the cover of the TV Times, which was amazing at the time. And it really was successful. Again, word of mouth. And I remember we sent the last completed film to Granada by post. And back came a check, the final payment. And we waited for somebody from Granada to say, right, now what are you going to do next? And I haven't heard from Granada to this day.
It was during Four Feather Falls that even more key players in the Anderson alumni joined the AP Films team, with the likes of Alan Patillo, Bob Bell, David Graham and Denise Breyer all involved with the series. On one particular episode, despite already being in the art department, Bob Bell briefly became a puppeteer.
When they had these cowboys on set, there were about 3 or 4 main characters, and that's all there was room for up on the bridge where the puppeteers operated. But there came scripts that spoke about posses, and that meant like 3 more horses and 3 more puppeteers on the top. And there weren't that number of puppeteers available, so anybody who was not doing anything went up on the bridge and became a puppeteer. In my imagination, I was another cowboy in the posse, So I was up there holding these damned wires, and we're all getting in each other's way, and in the end it was like a cat's cradle in that children's game where all the wires got crossed over and nobody knew who was pulling what, and God knows what the puppets were doing on the stage. I'm sure it was something rude, but that's what used to happen. But it was great fun for us. Gerry kept looking at his watch, seeing how much money we were spending, and we'd go and do the take again, but eventually we got something on tape and the editors did the rest.
Four Feather Falls really began to ramp up the quality of work produced by AP Films, as more ambitious characters, sets and filmmaking techniques entered the fold. One improvement began with the strings for the puppets.
On Four Feather Falls, we had moved from carpet thread that was used to control the first puppets that we made to very, very fine fishing yarn that we used. But of course you could still see the wires. I call them wires, I mean the threads very, very clearly, and I thought they looked awful. At a later time we then switched to very, very fine wire. It was drawn to 0.005 of an inch thick. And even finer wire was used to control the arms. But still, we could see them. Not a great deal, but we could see them. They were, first of all, they were being steel, they were shiny. The company that made them then produced some kind of optical process where they blackened the wire without thickening it. But they were now pretty good, but we could still see them. And so at the beginning of each scene, let's say there were 4 puppets in the shot, each with 8 wires, right? So 32 wires coming down into the shot. And we noticed that, for example, if a black wire crossed a white cloud in the background, it showed really badly. On the other hand, if it went over a black area in the background, we could hardly see it. And so this gave us the idea of painting the wires into the set. We would have a model maker sitting under the camera, this is while we were rehearsing, painting the wire there, and then painting the next one, and then changing from white to green and so on. And this was guided by the camera operator. Of course, if you walked onto the set, you wouldn't be able to see the wires from that distance. You just saw this guy seemingly painting fresh air. And I mean, this helped enormously, but not without problems. The puppeteers were working overhead, which meant that it was fearfully hot up there. They had to hold the puppets at arm's length, because this is where the way they would operate them. And they used to have to hold them there while these wires were painted. And then when their arms were breaking and shaking, we would then go for the take. So it was an extremely difficult procedure.
As filmmaking techniques on the series developed, so did the materials used when creating sets and backgrounds. With the show being set in the Wild West, rocks were often required to dress the scene, but this came with certain challenges.
Gerry decided he would have a booth at the end of the studio, a glass-fronted booth in which he would sit, very importantly, with his continuity girl, who happened to be Sylvia Anderson in those days, and he would talk into a microphone and tell us what to do, those of us who were on the floor sweating it out. And we had these huge lumps of rock to cart around, which in the outset, in the first days, were real rocks. And then somebody had the bright idea of using coal. And we got coal in and we painted it grey, and sure enough they looked very much like rocks. And they're still very heavy though, but not quite as heavy. And you could almost change them to the shape you wanted, whereas you couldn't with the normal granite rocks or whatever they were made of. And it was about this time that everything was beginning to change. Domestically, they were introducing a substance called polystyrene. And the first time I saw polystyrene was in this studio at Slough. And it came in blocks about 6 feet by 3 by 2, something like that. And you could cut it up with a kitchen knife and shape any kind of rock you wanted. So we got to work and we shaped some rocks up, and they looked very good on the set. We shot them through the camera and they were very good in rushes. So we had these polystyrene rocks then. And very soon after changing over to the polystyrene rocks, Gerry one afternoon was being a bit fractious with us and telling me to move rocks here and move rocks there. No, move it back again, Bob. No, a little bit to the right. Did you hear me? Is your microphone working, or your earpiece? And I got a bit fed up with this, and I picked up a piece of rock and I threw it at him. It was only in a joke, really. And he saw the joke. He dodged down very quickly behind his desk. With Sylvia, she dodged down too, and I left them to it. But that was one of the things that happened. There's a way we made use of these rocks just to get a laugh.
The team also had to get creative when it came to adding in the effects for gunshots. Fortunately, an unorthodox method was devised.
We were desperately short of money. And of course, the puppet hands are very small. And so the gun, would probably be about 3/4 of an inch long. And how do you make a gun that's 3/4 of an inch long fire? Blanks. I mean, no way, you see. So what we used to do was we would get the puppeteers to do that with the gun. Every time they fired, it would go, And then we would look at the film on the moviola and mark off the beginning of that movement. And then we would call in the negative from the laboratories and match the negative to the positive. And at that point, we, with a very, very fine paintbrush, we would take a black ink and paint a little flash, and on the next frame, a little flash. And so when the picture was printed, we actually got a little white flash on the end of the gun. And when we laid the soundtrack, it looked, wow, fairly realistic. No, I don't think there would be another person in the world crazy enough to produce special effects by painting on the original negative. It's something that anybody who makes films would never dream of doing. The negative is normally kept in the laboratories and kept under dust-proof conditions, and nobody ever touches it. No, it was a device we used because there was no other way that we could we could produce the effect.
With the very charming Four Feather Falls done and dusted, and Granada seemingly uninterested in any further collaboration, the AP Films team had little on the horizon, other than a brochure for a new series titled Supercar. The story of how Lou Grade funded the series is well known, and best told in Gerry Anderson's own words.
Our position was precarious right up until the time I met Lou Grade. We had made Four Feather Falls, and we had produced a brochure for a series to be called Supercar. And I was hoping that somebody would say, "This is wonderful, how much money do you want?" Of course, that didn't happen. And we, again, were about to close our studio when a man by the name of Connery Chappell came to see us and said, "I know a man, his name is Lou Grade. I'm sure he would be interested." And he made an appointment for me to go up to see Lou Grade. And I went along there, and I really was quite frightened, I hadn't negotiated anything before. And I showed him the brochure, and I remember Lou looking at it. And he said, "Yeah, looks good. How much is it going to cost?" Well, I don't know what the cost was that I submitted to him, but let's say it was something like £3,000 an episode. I remember Lou slammed the desk with his fist. Frightened the living daylights out of me. And he said, "I can't possibly afford that sort of money for a children's show." And then I think he must have seen that I looked very frightened. And so he then became very kind and said, Look, Gerry, I'll tell you what you do. Now, let me see, the time now is 5 o'clock. Go back to the studio, come back tomorrow morning and tell me you've cut that price in half, and I'll give you a contract for 26 shows." Well, I raced back to the studio and told them, and they said, "Well, it's impossible." And I was like, I know, but we've got to do it somehow. So we stayed up all night, cutting every single item as much as we dare. And then as dawn broke, we were saying things like, "Do you think the crew really need 3 cups of tea in the day? Maybe we can just cut it down to 1 in the morning, and that way we will save on milk." Well, I was in my car going back to Lou. I had failed. We had cut a third off the budget. And I went up, and I was nearly in tears. I'm sure I was smelling like a polecat. I hadn't shaved, been up all night, And I said, "I'm terribly sorry, but there's no way we can cut it in half. But we've managed to cut off a third." And Lou said, "Okay, just one moment." And then he opened a door about 6 inches and mumbled something. And then he said to me, "Okay, you've got a deal." That door, I don't want to be unkind to Lou because I can't prove this, but years later, I thought I saw him open the same door and get his coat. But, it's something I can't be sure of. But I walked to the door, and I suddenly thought, we haven't got any money, we've got to take on a crew now and start work. Could you give them a delivery date, So I turned back and I said, "Mr. Grade, would you mind letting me have a letter of intent?" And he said to me, "Let me just tell you something." He said, "My word is better than any legal contract. Get out of here and start making the series." And indeed, it proved to be absolutely true. 4 days later, we got a very fair agreement, which we signed. And that was the beginning of the long association.
Well done, Ross.
Oh, yes,
Thank
indeed.
you, thank
Lovely
you.
stuff.
What a lovely story. Will it be updated? Will there be another, for the next section of Gerry's career?
Yes, because he talks about his whole career in those tapes.
Right.
So the plan is to slowly get through them.
Right.
And go from start to finish.
Great.
And include people along the way, Bob Bell,
Yes.
Derek Meddings, all of the people along the way. So,
And in those tapes, he talks about a lot of unmade things as well, doesn't he? Every aspect of his career is covered, so there's a lot to get through. Yeah,
no, it's good fun. It's good fun.
Fascinating.
Spooling through.
Great, brilliant.
Well done.
And so hopefully next week we'll have another little something featuring a certain
submarine.
Lovely.
Yes, certain yellow submarine. Absolutely.
Great. All right, look forward to that very much.
It's nice to have Ross around the table bringing things along to show us. Saves
Yes.
us doing to work, isn't it?
Yes, that's very true. Talking of people bringing things, I tell you who brings the most to the podcast.
Who's that?
It's our wonderful Podsterons.
Oh, them, yes.
This is the voice of the Podsterons.
Our first email is from Elliot, who says, "Dearest Richard."
Oh,
and
nice.
the other two. No, he says, "I kid. Hello, Jamie and Chris." And in this instance, I guess we'll assume that Ross is involved there. Having recently listened to Doctor Who and the Brain Drain from the good people at Big Finish, my life has quite suddenly taken a turn in a Richard Jamesian direction.
Oh, that sounds ominous from where I'm sitting. Yes.
I've recently, says Elliot, treated myself to some goodies from the Gerry Anderson website, the Space Precinct box set and Richard's very own Space Precinct novel.
Oh, yes.
Wow.
Very nice.
I'll have to implore Richard to sign one or all, should we ever meet. Well, let's hope so, Elliot. That'll be nice. My question for all three of you is this. If you could have had a lead role in an Anderson production back in the day, which would it have been, and who or what would you have played? Keep up the great work, one and all, in the underworld. FAB from Elliot. Right.
Wow, that's a question.
I think I would obviously be Commander Koenig.
Yes.
I'd like to be in control of the of
I could
Nimbus Alpha.
see you as a sort of grumpy kind of
Right.
boss
That wasn't
person.
kind of what I was going for.
Charge of
Yeah, fine, I
Nimbus.
could probably do that, yeah. Chris?
Well, I think I mentioned it before when we were doing those little short things. There's a character on Space 1999 called Bill Fraser, who only turns up every so often.
Yeah.
He gets to fly the Eagles. He never crashes them.
Yeah.
He's married to Anushka Hempel. I mean, it's win-win all round.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
yeah,
Fine.
I'm happy with that, yeah.
Ross, who would you play in an Anderson production, do you think?
I think I'd go for a Super Marionation
Oh.
era.
Oh,
Yeah.
Puppet Ross.
I think it would be quite fun to do loads of guest characters, loads of different voices per
Yes.
episode, and just be all the people in control rooms and airports and things.
Okay, great.
So I'd go for
Yeah,
it.
nice.
Well, of course, two of us have been, in Anderson productions. And this one.
Why is
not-
it talking?
Why? I don't know why.
You sound a bit like that character from the Secret Service episode.
Oh, rather.
Yes,
Yes. Very good.
Chris, an email there for you.
Yes. Dear Jamie, Richard, and Chris.
Yes,
I won't
all
give
right,
it that.
no,
Yes.
I wouldn't.
A few years have passed since my last message.
A few years?
A few years.
Wow.
Wow.
We took it that long.
For us, it's only been a few months. And I thought it about time to send some lovely feedback.
Oh, yes, I
we
think
do
it is
like
about
lovely
time.
feedback.
Yeah.
Of course, I do run the risk of this being read in an Australian accent, but it's all in
Uh-oh.
good. Well, no, we were going to read it in this sort of accent, but we dropped that, yes. Not doing that. If Jamie were here, we were going to make it.
Yes,
because he's not done
absolutely.
one yet, but yeah, it's fine. Anyhow, even, I'd just like to commend Louise for her kind customer service interactions
Yes.
a few weeks ago in relation to ordering the very popular Retro Figures range. Yes,
Great.
this is the range from, was it Big Chief Studios originally were going to
Yes,
do
I
this?
think-
And
I
now
think that was
Master
its-
Replicas
that was
has
its
taken those
genesis.
on.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes. I don't have any. Do you have any?
I don't actually. No.
Surprising. You haven't
Surprisingly.
done a little feature with them.
No,
Not yet.
wasn't sent them to take pictures of.
Wow.
Oh,
Give it time.
Anyway, I do understand that it's a very busy time at Anderson Entertainment, what with all the Thunderbirds and Space 1999 merchandise flowing this anniversary year.
Yeah.
I am very impressed with Anderson Entertainment's customer service and overall recent direction, diving even deeper into the vaults of home media archives. I'm looking forward to the Super Space Theatre Blu-rays and, of course, Thunderbirds Blu-ray box set.
Of course.
Well done to all involved, as I believe making Thunderbirds available in the UK has been a long and demanding process.
Right.
I just want to say you are all greatly appreciated, no matter the distance apart or how often I and others like myself communicate.
Ah.
Kindest regards, Robert Hill. Thank
Oh,
you, Robert.
that's
That's very
nice,
nice.
Robert,
Yes.
isn't it? Yes.
And yes, it's always worth mentioning people behind the scenes, especially Louise, who does
Yeah.
great job with
Yeah.
keeping all
Yeah.
the orders
Yeah.
going and flowing and dealing with problems and such.
Yeah. Well, I think Jamie mentioned last week the problems they've been having with various warehouse issues and postage
Yes,
issues, and of course Louise has
yes.
been at the forefront of that, trying to sort out people's
So all of that
damaged
is
goods.
now moving to
Yes.
a new location,
Yeah.
behind the scenes, secret location,
Oh, is that
known
right?
only to Jamie, because it's near his house, as he said, yes.
It's his garage, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Exactly. It is, yeah. Ross, one for you.
Good evening, gents.
Oh, good evening.
You probably don't remember me,
Nah, I don't remember.
but I'm Ash, from Australia.
There we go.
No, I'm not going to go any further than that.
Oh, Christ.
I'll try it for a sentence.
Go on.
It's been almost 100 or so pods since I last emailed.
That's good.
Ha 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 ha.
Yeah,
That's it, she says that.
That's very good. Yeah.
Anyway, just emailing in to ask where the t-shirts have gone on the Gerry Anderson store.
Where
Good question.
have all the t-shirts gone?
Practically all the t-shirts I wear are ones that I purchased from the shop, and I'm a little sad to see that for the last couple of years there haven't been many available. Is there any chance that we'll be getting more again, or has the era of t-shirts ended? No stress either way, I'm just a little sad to see a lot of my Anderson ones wear out and have nothing to replace them.
Oh, dear.
Have a great rest of the pod.
Oh, thanks, Ash. Nice to hear from you. I know there's a new Thunderbird 2 t-shirt.
I thought there was a new
available.
Space 1990. I'm going to look on the shop right now.
Yeah.
I think they've become more... Rare is perhaps not the word, but more of a collectible thing. Rather than having lots of t-shirts, I think there's now less to choose from. But we're hoping that those are more special.
Yes, to mark certain anniversary events or celebrate.
Well, I'm looking on the shop right now, and there's a Thunderbirds t-shirt, there's a Shadow logo t-shirt, there's the t-shirt you're wearing right now, Spectrum logo, UFO logo, Standby for Action 2 concert. I suspect a lot of them, the sizes are probably limited.
Sure. Yeah,
but
that's not bad for going on with
t-shirts
it.
aren't gone, they're just not as plentiful as they were.
Yeah, fair enough. Great. All for now. Thanks, Podsterons, for your emails. Keep them coming in to podcast@gerryanderson.com. Also, you can comment beneath this video that you are watching right now and let us know your thoughts and comments, and we'll try and read them out next time. Please also leave us a rating wherever you're viewing or listening to this podcast, because we really appreciate your reviews, particularly if they're 5-star reviews, Ross.
Oh, yes.
Yes, 5-star 5 reviews. Absolutely.
5-star 5 reviews.
We've got some 5-star reviews on IMDb.
Yes,
and other
let
places.
me know if you've read 5-star 5, any of the 5-star 5 trilogy recently, and tell me what you think of that. Because, that was great fun to write. You just reminded me.
Well, I'm going to start reading your Space Precinct novel tonight.
Hooray!
I'm going to start reading it tonight.
Great. Well, I look forward to your review, Chris. In the meantime, I think it's time one of us
press
the big red button to see what we're going to watch on the Randomiser this week.
Because we don't have... Well, I suppose, as Ross did the big feature...
Yes, maybe
he should decide who gets to
that's
press
very
it.
kind.
Go on then,
Very
Ross.
kind.
Give it a slap.
I bet it's going to be Protectors or something, isn't it?
Well, you've blown it now, haven't you?
Okay, well done, Ross. Let's see how we do then.
Through the black and whites.
Yeah, good. Still
No Torchy this week.
all right, into live action now.
What are the odds?
Ross.
What are the odds, Mr. Ross?
You jinxed it, haven't you?
It's because we watched it when I was here last time, and I just
Oh,
thought...
yeah. Oh, that's right. Bobby Stower, yes.
Now, I'm very happy to see the Protectors, as you know.
Always happy, yes.
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 Not
Yeah,
so keen.
actually, we had cookies last time because of it, didn't we? Something to do with...
Well, it wasn't specifically because we were watching The Protectors that we had cookies.
a long
But I
day.
think if you want to set that tradition...
That'd be great.
Protectors cookies,
Now,
yes.
Chris, tell us all you can about the Protectors in 5.4 seconds. Go.
In the avenues and alleyways with the sort of man is used to buy the winding there is
I mean, I think that made a kind of sense, didn't it?
kind of.
Yes.
I'm going to put my specs on.
And we're going to watch Balance of Terror.
Let's do it.
Which is a good one.
Already I'm in a nice, relaxed...
Nice background music.
Yeah, domestic situation. Lovely.
Your strategy, as usual, is transparently.
Hello, that's a bit cheeky.
obvious.
Ooh.
I thought they were about to pull that onto the chessboard.
It's good times at Harry's pad tonight.
Obviously, chess and wine party, not cheese and wine.
No.
Arigato. どういたしまして? Excellent.
I'm struggling to work out whose hand is whose.
Oh, I think it might be our main characters. But that's Harry's house there, which I've been to visit.
Yes.
It's not far from, the centre of London.
Did they let you in?
No, no. But we should go and say, excuse us, Gerry Anderson podcast, we can just record here.
Yes, okay.
They might let us in,
Yeah, they might
when
do.
we do The Protectors on Blu-ray, Jamie.
Yeah, but the thing is, that interior, of course, is a set.
Is a set.
So it wouldn't look anything like that.
Long
on the
since
inside.
knocked down, but well,
we could stand outside the door.
Maybe the set was modelled on the actual interior.
Check.
I don't know.
Yeah,
could be. Oh no, Russians!
It's got an unpaid parking fine or something.
I'm sorry, the lack of exciting music is interesting.
There he is.
Mr. Rule, I am Colonel Vasily Krasenkov, KGB.
Right.
That's Virgil Green.
Yeah, I've heard of you.
Yeah. So the KGB have stopped by.
Yeah, they're all throwing down their weapons.
To watch the chess game. They come as friends.
I like his kind of orange sorbet coloured roll neck there.
All right, Krasingov, I admit it. I'm baffled.
As are we.
Yeah.
It's very simple,
I do like the colour scheme in this.
I have
The
an
early
assignment for
70s
Yeah.
sort of opulence.
You want me to work for you? For the KGB.
I'll call my friend Ilya Kuryakin.
Of course.
Help me.
Which
That's
you
a crossover
don't
we
completely
want.
reject.
What the hell?
Whatever.
Excellent.
I was losing anyway.
And if you have no objection, I think it would be better if we discuss the matter on the Russian territory.
Right, I mean...
Off to Russia,
I love
yeah.
it. I do enjoy this series. I know it has its moments of tedium and a few duff episodes, but when it's
This
a good
is not
episode,
one of them,
it's
yes.
a really good episode, isn't it? Great. I'm looking forward to this already.
I love the flick of the jacket in time with the music.
Yes, yes. It's a great central cast as well. I mean, they're all fantastic in their roles, I think.
Yet to see an episode with Tony in it, though.
Ah.
Strangely.
Oh, okay. Well,
Here's
you
hoping.
might be in luck.
Oh.
So I'm guessing they didn't actually go to Russia to shoot this.
No.
Script editor Tony
Oh,
Barwick.
did they not? I thought the Protectors was all about globe trotting and.
Well, the illusion of globe
They've only gone to the Russian embassy.
Age 65. Nobel Prize winner. The Soviet Union's top biochemist.
Right.
For the
face we
past
recognise
4
from
years,
other shows and
Professor
films.
Shelpin has been working here at the Lenin Research Institute.
At the Mars factory in
Yes.
Slough.
It's where they filmed a Quatermass movie or two.
Yes, Mr. Rule, germ warfare. We prepare for it.
I mean, he
as
looks
do the
fascinated, doesn't he?
Americans of the
Harry Rule.
Regrettable.
I suppose this
But it
is
a
all
fact of international
height of the Cold
politics.
War
Yeah.
tensions.
Unless we
Yeah.
produce these
True.
terrible substances, we feel insecure.
Sort of preserve the balance of terror, huh?
And what's the
Precisely.
episode called again?
I see you
Balance of
understand
Terror.
this, Mr.
Yes. Wonder where they got that title from.
Proceed.
Yes. And here come the
Luminous
Romulans.
toxin
Yes.
alpha beta. The most deadly fluid in existence.
Next to the coffee that they serve
All
at the
amount
Moxie.
you see here,
Oh.
dropped in this room.
Oh, that's a nice shot. Look at that.
Yes.
Everybody in the building.
Oh, it'd be funny if he walked away and it was
River
just
or
imprinted
a
on his
sewer,
t-shirt.
It would destroy a major city. Last night, Professor Shelpin disappeared.
Uh-oh.
And with him disappeared a vial of the beta toxin,
Oh, right.
which we
So-
discovered was taken from the Lenin Institute. An hour
Gonna
after
need
its
some help
disappearance
getting
was
this back
reported,
then.
A note was delivered to the president of the Presidium, of which this is a translation.
Still
It's in
poor.
Russian.
Yeah. That's what it
You
says.
are right, Mr. Rule. Shelpin gives nothing away.
Oh.
Nothing but the fact that he intends to use the toxin.
Where did Shelpin disappear?
In London. He is head of the Russian delegation to the International Scientific Forum.
Mm-hmm.
We have issued a cover story. The other members of the party think that Shelpin is ill.
And you want us to help you find him?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
You have a fairly efficient organization yourself.
Efficient, yes, but also slow and cumbersome.
Harry Rule seems
Your
remarkably
agents, on the
relaxed
other
about the fact that there's a rogue
are all
Russian
citizens
scientist
of
on the
their
loose with a vial of deadly toxin.
He's not prepared to commit himself yet.
You want us to help you find him, do
Yeah,
you?
I suppose you interrupted my chess game. I was winning.
Very little time. Mr. Rule.
Yeah, there are some episodes where Robert Vaughn looks bored and you can tell it's genuinely him bored.
Yes.
In this, I think it's more of an acting choice, but I'm not quite sure why.
Okay. We'll do what we can.
Yeah, that's a shame.
No promises, but...
Thank you very much. Thanks for coming.
Enjoy the rest of your day. So yes, we've got a scientist on the loose with a formula that could poison lots of people, which
Yes.
is a story we've seen in other shows.
Uh-huh.
They did this in a Captain Scarlet. The Mysterons
Right.
made off with a
Right.
vial of something. But it's still a good idea.
It is a good idea, and it's an
drama.
idea that would work even now. I mean, you could. This is a kind of a timeless theme, isn't it?
Yes. In fact, they did something very similar with the CGI Captain Scarlet as well.
Yeah.
So here's our boy Shelpin.
I see.
Yep, still got the file of deadly, scary stuff.
Okay, he's taking that out for our sake, isn't he? There's
Yes,
probably no reason why he would have done that otherwise.
And this is Lawrence Naismith, who was in a lot of things.
Yeah.
Lots of films.
Mhm.
A few ITC shows. He was the judge in The Persuaders.
Oh, God, he's putting it there with the trees.
Yeah, well, I'll have a bit of that later, yeah. They might mix well together, who
Yeah,
knows?
they might do. Gin and tonic.
Oh, rather.
Yeah, you can't park there.
So time for the International Scientific Forum, where he's going to be speaking.
Okay, in you go then. Just showing her bus pass.
Professor Rodney.
Oh.
I'm the Contessa di Contini.
Ah, Contessa.
Shui?
The embassy told me you would be coming. Now, how can I help?
Who's that then?
It's Angus Lenny.
You are an old friend of
From,
Alexander Shelpin's, yes?
was he the chef in Crossroads? Is his name
Oh,
Shui?
I really don't know.
I don't know, but I...
Yes, he does. Yes, he looks familiar now. Beneath the beard.
He was a couple of Scottish characters
That's
in
right.
Doctor Who.
Yeah.
In Zygons, he was the landlord
Okay.
in Zygons. And the guy in Ice Warriors as well, who shacks up with Peter Sallis.
Yeah.
But now we have location filming.
Yes.
Briefly.
Hungerford Bridge, I think.
Now we're on a back projection.
You have been doing some checking?
You knew?
Of course. Do I pass?
Well, what makes you think I should trust you anyway?
Good point. Sorry, say that again?
That's a nice touch.
Yeah, that's clever, isn't it?
Just the real world intrudes for a moment and we
Yes.
have to wait.
And I believe, like myself, you have a wife and a son?
Yes, thanks.
Is that established?
It is
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
Right.
Do we see his son ever? Have we seen his son?
His son gets kidnapped by Jeremy Brett. Yeah.
We haven't seen that one, have we?
Well, you're not going to. I think I covered that on my own, yes.
Oh.
And his wife, Hannah Gordon, has to come and get him to come and help, yes.
Right.
Better perhaps that Shelpin drops his little vial of beta toxin and destroys us all.
Fair enough.
Wow.
Okay, bye then.
On the other hand, it's a nice day and...
We've already started. All right, Paul, as soon as you can. It's important.
And that's Yasko Nagazumi,
yes.
who was married to stuntman director Ray Austin and later turned up in 8 episodes of Space 1999.
Indeed so, yes.
Wouldn't it be nice if we could get her on the podcast as the last surviving protector?
Yeah. Well, we can both.
We can try.
Planning some sort of grand gesture involving that vial of toxin and, well, I suppose several million deaths.
Yeah, but to what end? Is there a ransom coming? Or?
Well, that's what she's hypothesizing.
Yes.
It's a very public affair, right?
So he has to advertise.
Right, yes. Sooner or later, he's got to make some sort of announcement so that people will understand what he's doing and why.
So he's an idealist rather than someone who wants a ransom.
How?
Sorry, I'm late.
Shit. Boy, to the guy.
You've searched the whole area? All right, check again.
Hello.
Room service.
What? Shelpin is at the Scientists Forum.
What? Oh, why didn't we think to cover that?
That's what I said. Recheck.
Don't attempt to go near him. Is that understood? Right, and keep the press away, too.
It is true of most men that until they have seen a thing, they will not believe it. I am convinced.
That's how I feel about Torchy sometimes.
Yes.
Incontrovertible evidence of Hiroshima that has so far averted a nuclear war. But there is a form of warfare far,
So at the time this was made, Hiroshima would have been less than 30 years earlier.
Yeah, sure.
And now this is 50 years ago.
Yes. Thank you for that.
Is that Trafalgar Square?
Yes.
I am persuaded that until mankind himself can actually see the effect of germ warfare, we shall never be safe from the threat of it.
So hang on. So his logic then is to use that vial of deadly germs to wipe out millions of people.
Yes.
In order to convince mankind not
to use it,
to wipe out millions of people using germ warfare.
Yes. Yeah, well...
Makes sense.
Does it make sense?
Yeah, perfect
An example's got to be set, yeah.
Okay. Fair enough, I suppose.
But he's a bit overwrought, you know.
Yeah.
God, you can get traffic like that in
No.
London now.
I know.
Yeah, half the episode would just be...
Yes. Look at those cars. Is that a Ford Anglia there?
Gosh, once again, the parking disciplines of these people.
Shocking.
All over the place.
And we're in the corner of a studio. That's funny.
We had him in our hands. He took a cab. Take care of
That is
him.
a studio, isn't it? Just that little bit
Yes,
there.
yeah.
That's weird, isn't it? Why didn't they do that on location then?
Well... I don't know.
Lighting and time and
second unit stuff,
Yeah,
maybe?
yeah, true.
I couldn't tell if that was really him.
Yeah.
It cuts together quite well, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
I think maybe the fact that it is 16mm, the cut isn't as jarring.
That's true.
Okay, I'm going to get drunk before releasing these.
Oh, he's accidentally drank the toxin.
Yeah.
Where's that gone?
That's his.
Ah, there it is.
Oh. Nicely timed with the lights going out
Yes, although this is, you can tell in the background, this is a day for night that
there. Yeah.
isn't quite. But you wanted to see Tony and Holt.
Recognize this man?
There he is. Suddenly in the story.
yes.
Room number.
There he is. My man.
He always looks so great.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I tell you what, you point the gun at my hand while I pick the lock.
Yeah.
Okay?
Not a move, shop. Turn around, please.
Oh, dear.
What this is.
What's that speech? Would I do it?
Yes. I would, yes.
For all you Genesis of the Daleks fans.
I am not interested
Ross
in
is
your
looking at us like he hasn't
arguments.
got...
Yeah.
Face the wall, both of you. Listen, Sharpin.
I gave you a copy of Genesis of the Daleks. How are you getting on with it, by
It's
the
on
way?
my list. It's on my list.
Fair enough.
I'll get there. I do really want to watch it.
I face the wall.
Oh, he's outsmarted them.
Now you will remain here. Should you attempt to follow me, I shall release the toxin.
But, okay.
In the meantime,
I mean it.
cheery bye.
Let yourselves out.
But it's a nice sort of haunted, tormented performance that
Yes.
he's giving there.
We're back to square one. We've lost Shelpin, and we still don't know how he intends to carry out his plan.
Or where, or when.
So we have a very specific date that this episode is set on.
Uh-huh.
Ring any bells for anybody?
6th of August. Should it?
Wow.
Maybe
Somebody's birthday?
Was that
Could
the day
be.
that the deadly toxin was released into the atmosphere?
Oh, close.
Said, I'm quite prepared to release the toxin now. He didn't say planned. He said prepared. Now, doesn't that suggest to you that he had a specific time in mind?
Yes, but I don't see how that helps us.
Just a theory I've been thinking about from the beginning.
I need
He's
more
keeping a
frying
very
pan.
strict timetable. You notice the date?
August the 6th.
And?
That mean anything to you?
No. He said that.
August the 6th, 1945. 9 a.m.
Oh.
Hiroshima.
Right.
You mentioned Hiroshima in
Oh,
this.
dear.
You think he's going to do it this morning at 9 o'clock?
Well, it's just a theory.
It could just be right. It's absolutely in character.
Wow.
Now, I have a feeling, and I'm not sure,
9 hours.
I think they might have got the time wrong.
Hmm.
Which just means that Hiroshima happened at a different time in the Protector's universe. We'll have to check that
Yes.
afterwards. I just
Yes.
have an odd memory
There'd
that
be
it
time zones or something.
Yeah.
could be.
To think
Could
about,
be, yeah.
Wow, that went quickly. It's 8 o'clock already.
Whoa.
Oh, blimey, okay.
Wow.
I suppose.
I've spent 8 hours on the phone.
Yeah, did they get to bed at all? Did they go, right, well, we've got time for some shut-eye?
Yeah, we're all going to die tomorrow. May as well.
I fear it is hopeless, my friend.
Well, I know he's in London.
Let's sit down and have a sandwich. Knowing that we've got 44 minutes to go.
It's okay, they've got the rest of the runtime of the episode. Reality, they've got 10 minutes or so.
The curious thing is that in some ways I sympathize with Shelby.
Why is there no sense of urgency about stopping this man?
Well, it's only 8 o'clock in the morning. Come on, how urgent can you be?
Look, it's 25 past 8.
So...
Nothing. Oh, well, I'll have another sandwich then.
Searched everywhere. Every hotel, every boarding house.
Every bar, every pub, every watering hole.
A man with a logical, scientific mind and a carefully conceived plan.
Yeah.
Where would he spend the night?
Somewhere he considered safe.
With a friend?
Russian embassy?
No. Shelpin has no friends in London. He is doing this alone.
He's at a travel lodge.
Yeah.
He's at the Moxie.
Somewhere where we've already looked.
Ah.
What?
Contact wall. Tell him to cruise the NW4 area.
Right.
NW4?
Yeah.
What's in NW4?
I don't know. But cruise it anyway. It's that hotel.
He's going to poison Big Ben.
Ooh.
Something. I don't know.
We'll do a 39 steps thing and go right up to the top of the clock.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting.
Oh, there isn't put a seatbelt on, is there anything?
Whoa.
Right, now
I did
he's
my
in a
own
hurry.
stunts. Yeah.
Okay.
Missed you by a few minutes.
Ow.
Yeah, well, if you'd just got a move on earlier.
He's driving a blue Rover 2000, registration ARO851.
Should be easy to spot in the 1970s. There's nothing else on the roads.
Rover. Got it.
Now keep heading towards the hotel and keep your eyes open.
All right, over and out.
What, while I'm driving?
I was going to close my eyes for a bit.
All along the line. We just missed him at the conference. We left a trail to his hotel a mile wide. He allowed us to corner him in his room, knowing we'd have to let him leave. He disappears again. We search all night everywhere. The one place we wouldn't think of. Same room, the same hotel.
Did they search all night?
Planned the whole
Well, they
Everywhere?
say they did, but I don't think so.
They made a phone call and ate a sandwich. Oh, found him.
Hey.
Oh, that was lucky.
It's literally the only other car on the road.
That's right.
Just ahead of me. He's turned west down Park Road.
The Hamden Reservoir. That could be it. Polluted water.
Oh, you see, I couldn't make notes in a car. I'd feel sick. Do you get that travel sickness when you're writing or reading in a car?
I've never really tried to write notes in a car.
Well, you try.
Yeah, okay.
Apparently winding the window down helps that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the air will trick your brain.
Oh, right. Well, that's why his window's opened up.
Yeah, he's ahead of the game.
Clearly. Hamden Reservoir.
Oh dear.
I see he's going to poison the water.
Yes.
This is a classic episode of Captain Scarlet.
It
as well,
is.
isn't
That's
it?
what she was going to do at Boulder Dam, wasn't it?
Yes.
She was going to chuck the vial off there, yes.
Oh.
Aha.
Out of the way, I'm Robert Vaughn, coming through.
Oh, where is this? I mean, there isn't a Hamden Reservoir, I don't think, is there?
Well, I'm sure we could find out.
Yeah. Lovely use of the theme there. There he is! See him up to his waist in the water.
He's on the other side.
He's taking a little pedal boat out to the middle of the lake.
Yeah.
And the music comes in to be groovy
2
again.
minutes till 9. He's sticking to his schedule. Here, take the gun. Try and distract him. I'll circle.
I mean, I know it's symbolic to do it on the dot of 9 o'clock, but he could just chuck the thing in now, couldn't he?
He could do,
and then they're
yeah.
scuppered.
And this.
Oh, wet foot. Oh no, I hate that.
Well, needs must when the end of the world is all.
Is that Robert Vaughn?
I don't think so, no. I think it's fairly obvious given what he's doing here.
Because they could get away with it, even, in a long shot. We probably couldn't do that today. We'd probably see, wouldn't we, a bit more clearly that it wasn't him.
A lot of these look like long shots, really far away but zoomed in.
Right.
And it creates an interesting sort of distance to it.
Alright, just take that out of there.
It suggests to me that they couldn't be bothered to move the camera team very much. Stay in one place and zoom in on all the action.
Oh, careful. Drop it. I mean, no, don't drop it.
Stoi.
Ooh, it's so tense.
Ilja bordo strilaš.
10 million, Chelpin.
Strain my crotch again.
Chelpin.
Ja kaveru tebea. No pozliatni ras.
I mean, that's quite a risky strategy, isn't it?
It is rather, yes.
Make sure he doesn't drop it in the melee.
Is this guy just going to get body slammed by Harry Rule?
Yeah.
Oh dear.
I'll have that, thank you.
Oh, Harry Rule is no match for old guy.
Oh.
And again, that's something they did in the Captain Scarlet
Right.
one, just for a moment.
I mean, surely it would be okay as long as the bung was still in the top there.
Well, you'd hope so, but... oh, dear.
Oops.
Well. All's well that ends well.
Funny quip or no, nothing
No,
there? No. Okay.
Chelpin will live.
Yay.
What are you going to do with him?
An inquiry. A trial. A fair trial.
A fair trial.
Yes, 3 months from now, he falls out of a window.
Yes.
This is your gun. You know a great deal too much about this business, Mr. Rule.
What?
What would you do in my position? Huh?
I'd kill me.
Well, yesterday is now the past.
Oh.
And we are men of the future. Huh?
It's nice. The way the gun lands, though, I almost half expect it to go off accidentally anyway, because it's so bouncy.
Do we see the Russian guy again in a future episode?
No, that's it for the Russian guy.
Potentially be quite a nice little relationship.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, there we go.
Ross,
Balance of terror.
How was that for you?
I enjoyed that. I think I'm trying to remember. Do you know what? I can now see the kind of variety you get out of the Protectors. I'm starting to see it.
Yes.
I'm feeling more persuaded.
From my point of view, I think it's always a bit of a lottery. But actually, I think the better episodes do outweigh the not quite so good ones. In general. So, what do you think of the performances there, Ross?
It was nice to see Tony Ann Holt,
Yes.
albeit briefly.
Yeah.
Quite a cold performance from Robert Vaughn, but I sense that Tony Ann Holt is the warmth.
Good point.
Possibly in other episodes that I've not seen.
There's spark there. There's a humanity in Robert Vaughn at times, but very often he's quite guarded. It depends on the other characters that he's interacting with.
And a sense that maybe he wasn't enjoying that particular episode or that particular script, perhaps.
Well, I can't see why he wouldn't be enjoying it.
Yeah.
It's certainly, I think, one of the better episodes. I know it's quite popular.
Yeah, I'd agree. So it's that time of the week where we give marks out of 5.
Ooh,
so
that's special time.
Yes. Chris, let's go to you first then. What do you think?
Well, generally, I say that's one of the best, if not the best. I'm going to say there are episodes I enjoy more, but that's still very good by Protector standards. So I'm going to go 4.5. Purely on the scale of other Protectors episodes.
Yes.
Yeah.
4.5. Yeah. Wow, that's very generous. Ross, can you match it or not quite?
I think because of my slightly more limited knowledge of the Protectors, from what I've seen so far, I would be inclined to go for a 3.5.
Yes, all right. Okay. I'm going to go slap bang in the middle and give it 4.
Okay.
So I think that's 12 out of 15, but then my maths is terrible.
Not bad.
But that's all right, isn't it?
Anyway,
that's probably indicative of where it naturally
Yes.
would sit in the Protector's run. Not quite top of the heap, but not a bad showing.
I believe that was one of the first ones shown, actually. So they often like to show stronger episodes.
Oh,
so
yes.
That was
Makes
pulled up
sense.
to the front. In our facts department, we were researching where this was shot.
Yeah.
Brent Reservoir reservoir even.
Right.
Reservoir. Bwent Reservoir.
Right, in France.
Where we release Brian. Yes,
Okay.
also known as Welsh Harp Reservoir.
Okay. Interesting.
And the Enola Gay dropped the bomb on Hiroshima at 8:15 local time.
So not 9 a.m. here for sure.
Not in our universe, but in the
No.
Protector's universe, everything runs 45 minutes later.
I
so,
see, fair enough.
Yeah.
Podsterons, what did you think of that episode, Balance of Terror from the Protectors? Let us know beneath or email us at podcast@gerryanderson.com and read out your thoughts next time. Possibly. Yes. But for now, that's all for this week. We'll be back again next week. Ross, you'll have something special for us again, I think.
Yeah, as long as you keep bringing special things in, you're welcome around the table. Yes. You do, yes.
And more emails around Podsterons, another random
episode, yes.
Gerry Anderson series.
Yeah.
All that to look forward to. We'll see you then. Bye.
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 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Let's get started. Let's go.
Spectrum is green.
I noticed the green phone in that looked
green
really cool.
phone?
There was a red phone as well.
Right.
And I mean, look, you and I have the same phone cases virtually. Look how just boring they are.
Right.
I mean, the Protectors.
Yes.
Just bang on with phones. Way
Okay.
more
It's not
exciting.
like a-
Big bricky things to answer.
Right. I'm glad to see you've been paying attention
Just,
anyway.
just as another little comment that I
that you forgot
thought.
to mention.
Yeah, it's just, you know,
Just
some
came to
of
you.
those things were better in the 70s, weren't they?
Right, I wonder
You're
what colour phones we'll
really
get next week.
Earning your keep.
Fascinating.
Yes.
Thanks,
It could be a black and white show, in which case...
Black or white?
Black or white, yeah.
That was an Anderson Entertainment production.